Wednesday, June the 6th. Lake level is right at 917. The water temperature, it's kind of like the air temperature. It's hot. The lake's pretty much, in the mid-80s, 81, 82 degrees to high 80s, especially later in the day. But the fish are biting. Fish are kind of moving into a summertime pattern. There's a lot of different things going on. There's some ways to catch some quality fish. The good thing about the summer pattern is a lot of the fish that are starting to move out deep, the drop shot bite and the jig bite's getting a lot more consistent. And as the lake develops a good thermocline where the oxygen level is the best, that'll be more consistent out there. And the deep bite seems to be 22 to about 30 foot deep, depends where you're at on the lake, whether you're fishing on the bottom or over deeper trees or around deep boat docks. Hopefully next week we can do the fishing report inside my new garage. You'll see we've just about got it completed here. But how I've been catching, the drop shot fish, a lot of the same way, a lot of the same worms we always use. I use a chompers, a brown purple lamb. They also make a plum. And then I've got some hand pours that I like to throw quite a bit. This is one of the hand pours, but Chompers makes one just like this. This is another one I like to throw. It's kind of a pink. It works. But I'm rigging them up on 6-pound line, pretty much just vertical fishing. And I'm finding a lot of them fish out on them long gravel flat points. It seems like you got to have deep water on one side or the other. Another place you can catch them is around the deeper docks on the drop shot. Now, a lot of the drop shot fish are going to be primarily Kentuckies, but you can catch a lot of numbers of fish. If you've got kids or something with you, instead of putting a plastic worm on, just take a night crawler and hook it right in the middle. It's a good way to get kids a lot of fishing action right now. And, the water clarity is pretty much the same all over the lake. We've had very little rain, but down by the dam it's really clear. Kimberling City is about normal. And the upper river arm's got nice green color, but like I say, there's no really dirty water, so to speak, anywhere. Another bite that's going on is, I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago, there's always a 2 or 3 week window in the mid-lake area. I mean, like from Shell Knob, Campbell Point, Baxter, Kimberling City area, where the deep crankbait bite is real good. And that's happening. It's been happening I didn't do a fishing report last week, but it's been happening for the last 2 weeks. What a lot of these fish do is after they're done spawning, they move back out over the deeper water. And they really don't go deep yet. They're kind of resting up. And as that water gets warmer and develops a thermocline, then they'll start to go deep. And it only lasts for a few weeks. And then the same pattern seems to work in the upper river arms. But how I'm catching those fish is on a Strike King 6XD, but you could also use like a fat-free shad, a DD22. You want something that gets down anywhere from 12 to 18 foot. But a chartreuse sexy shad, just a straight sexy shad, and then this green gizzard has been working good for me. And a lot of times where I'm fishing these crankbaits, the same places, and I didn't mention too, there's also still a topwater bite going on in the morning, but I'll throw these crankbaits a lot of the same place I'm throwing the topwater and the swim bait in the morning. I'll throw it out around that deep timber, and sometimes I might have the boat in 25 to 35 feet of water, and these baits only get down, like I say, 15, 16 foot. So I'm not catching the fish off the bottom. A lot of them are suspended in the trees. You're going to lose some crankbaits. But if you crank them, you can kind of work your way through the trees, especially on the hardwoods. You can work them through pretty good. Another thing that'll work out in that same area is I'm still throwing that Picassus scrounger head. And I'm throwing either a Rage Swimmer or a 3.8 Kitech on it. And I'm fishing this at different depths, especially after the topwater bite's over with. If I feel the fish are at 5 or 10 feet, I'll count it down to that depth. And along with that, another thing that's working, like I say, there's a lot of different patterns working. A person can fish a small 2.8 swim bait, but I like the flutter spoon. This is a Dixie Jet, and I'm throwing either a 1/2 ounce or a 5/8, pretty much all white. And I'll just kind of yo-yo this or swim it up and down in that same water column where I'll fish the scrounger head. And you know, naturally the Ned rig and stuff is still working. A lot of them fish that we're catching shallower on the Ned rig is starting to move out a little bit deeper. But the Ned rig is a deal. If you be patient with it, you can fish it out to 20, 25 feet, catch fish on it all year round. So that's still another good way to catch fish. Now, once the sun gets up, the crankbait bite slows down. That 15, 20 foot that I was talking about catching them on a crankbait, I'm also catching them on a jig at that same depth, especially in some of these conservation brush piles. What I've been throwing is 5-fish lures. It's a new jig out. It's the Ultimate Finesse jig. It's a 9/16. You probably can't see real good, but it's got kind of like a teardrop head rather than a football jig. Really comes through the brush good. It's really been working out well. But the depths you want to try to key on is like that 15 to 20 foot. And if you want to get some of these jigs, Sportsman Factory Outlet has got them. And also a couple places down here at the lake. The Jug and Plug over there at Shell Knob has them. And Extreme Outdoors there in Branson West, in behind Ulrich Marine, has got these jigs. And not only do they have the 9/16, but they got a 7/16 and a 5/16 if you're flipping boat docks as well. But you need to get one of the, if you throw a football jig a lot, 1/2 ounce, 5/8, you need to get one of these 9/16 Ultimate Finesse jigs. Check them out, give them a try. Now, something that's going on for you high school kids at Sportsman Factory Outlet, see, a week from tomorrow, Bobby Albert's going to do a seminar on Stockton Lake. And the high school kids, you guys have got a tournament there. It'll be 3 days after that. A week from this weekend, you've got your championship up there. So I think that's going to be at 6 o'clock at Sportsman Factory Outlet. And Bobby's going to break the lake apart and give you some different techniques and how to fish it. And also, if you attend the seminar, you can get 15% off anything in the store that's not already on sale. So it should be a real good turnout because, my grandson and I fished at the high school tournament last weekend. It was like 270 boats. The participation's been unreal. So it should be a good turnout, a lot of people there, and you can get a discount on some product. But fishing, even though it's really hot out, the fishing's actually, I think it's better right now than it was a couple weeks ago. It's still topwater bite. And, there's not as good a shallow topwater bite. Most of my topwater bite has been out over structure. And like I say, on that crankbait bite, that's probably going to start to fizzle out in the mid-lake area, but look for it to start up in the river arms, being the Carolina rig, football jig, deep crankbait on some of the kind of roll-offs or structure points in all 3 rivers, up in Long Creek, Kings River, and up in the James River. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.